The latest in aviation romance coming to your view is the love story between two often marginalized airlines who have found common ground going forward. JetBlue Airlines' pursuit of Spirit has been shocking, and the world has yet to figure out why it happened. We might have a tale of two unlikely elements coming together to form one big family in the aero-romance that is unfolding in the aviation industry. Neither of the two airlines has been exceptional, and you'd think they needed better pairings to improve their standing in the industry. So, this video will show why JetBlue fought hard to merge with Spirit Airlines and won. Spirit Airlines is the butt of jokes in the aviation industry for its own peculiarity, its cheapness. It is an ultra-low-cost carrier that offers one of the poorest airline services ever. JetBlue is pretty great compared to it. After all, it offers greater perks than Spirit. When you onboard Spirit Airlines, do not expect complimentary entertainment like food or snacks, and maybe a beverage drink. Sure, they have been hosting their own group of passengers, but reports are that passengers often bring along their own food for the length of the flight. Other major challenges that have caused Spirit Airlines to have a poor reputation include the almost normal issues of flights getting canceled and layovers that could take hours to resolve, often leaving passengers stranded at the airport. Passengers often complain about losing their luggage too. These are often the downsides that beset a budget airline like Spirit Airlines. Another thing to note is that people must pay to get their luggage on board the small flight. Most times, the cost of carrying a piece of luggage is higher than the ticket price is. While accepting the flaws of the airline may eventually lead you to enjoy a hassle-free trip, the fact that it doesn't offer the comfort you need is a red flag that most passengers use an excuse not to board the flight. JetBlue has it all with its slightly bigger seats and generous legroom for passengers to feel comfortable. Their flights often have interesting features such as live television, seatback screens, free Wi-Fi, and lie-flat seats in business class. Passengers also enjoy complimentary snack service to keep them settled during the journey. Merely comparing the comforts of JetBlue to the bare-bones services rendered by Spirit will make you feel like the whole merger was a bit improper. Spirit's cabins are often cramped, and they literally have zero desire for passenger comfort. You cannot even choose a preferred seat without paying for it. There's often stiff competition for the only spacious place on the flight, the big front seat, for which you have to pay at least $250 to enjoy the 36 inches of legroom it offers. Other seats are cramped, which means it is not a flight you want to board on a 2 to 4 hour journey. Surely, JetBlue could do better than merge with an airline of this standard. Nobody wants such an airline, but apparently, JetBlue had other ideas. True, there are a few bright sides to Spirit Airlines because it offers extremely low-cost tickets. It grew quite rapidly, and its top destinations were targeted at vacation hotspots, which meant they transport tourists back and forth from the most visited locations. So maybe the fact that they are worlds apart is what makes them the best matchup. The merger is all but done, and many people struggle to see what acquiring Spirit will do for JetBlue Airlines. There is the remote consideration that Spirit Airlines have just given JetBlue a much-needed breakthrough on its expansion plans. Despite its impressive service, JetBlue is still a small airline and wants to get bigger. To do this, they will need more airlines and more experienced pilots. Yes, Spirit has the resources to make that happen. The $3.8 billion JetBlue will spend to acquire Spirit is not the end, as they would need to fashion the airline to match her taste. So in the next few months, we will be ushered into an era of reforms to retrofit all the planes that came with the deal in admirable JetBlue style. This means more comfortable seats and a novel business class with ample legroom. More room for luggage as well. Although it may mean fewer packed-in seats to create more room for passengers and newer amenities. Subsequently, passengers will have access to free Wi-Fi and other comforts that will make it worth their money. Another leverage that JetBlue desperately needed to achieve was to break through the rigid ranks of the top airlines in the United States. With their coming together, JetBlue Spirit Airlines will now become the 5th largest fleet in the US, only after the likes of American, Delta, United, and Southwest Airlines. It will also open them up to rendering their services to the vacation hotspots that Spirit used to play. Florida, the Caribbean, and Central and South America used to be their main focus, but now they can also add other prime locations across Europe and Asia. It wasn't until last year that JetBlue began sanctioning flights to London, and other tip locations could join the list: Berlin, Stockholm, Rome, etc. While we're at it, JetBlue is also looking to benefit from Spirit's reliability, which is one way it is faring better than JetBlue. Spirit Airlines ranked higher in 7th place among on-time flights in the US this year. The Transportation Department pointed out a bad reputation for JetBlue due to incessant layovers and late flights. More and a third of all JetBlue flights have been delayed and some 4% canceled. Spirit has better stats, with only a quarter of their flights turning up late, while only 2.7% got canceled. That is surprisingly good for an ultra-low-cost flight. It makes sense, given that they have much to prove as an airline. Improving JetBlue's reliability is a big deal for its CEO, Robin Hayes, and he believes that the deal with Spirit will get them back on track. They will not have to overextend their crew and other resources while attaining a degree of scalability. You will admit that a bigger JetBlue flight that comes late is not necessarily better than an early low-cost Spirit flight. Is there a pattern to this merger? Yes, we have seen this before. JetBlue seems to be using a time-tested strategy to build its brand. Last year, they made a strategic partnership with the American airline. We could see the same thing playing out in the merger with Spirit. The key similarity between the two deals is that JetBlue operated as a separate airline alongside the American airline in the Northeast. They only partnered together to enable the two airlines to sell seats on each other's planes. If JetBlue wants to sell seats to American Airlines, they can do that for an agreed number of passengers. If you paid for JetBlue Airlines and the flight gets canceled, or there's no longer space, you can be redirected to American and vice versa. It made up a profitable partnership while it lasted. The deal with Spirit is a complete takeover, by the way. Still, it won't take effect immediately because the merger is subject to regulatory approval and the total handover of assets and documents necessary to complete the deal. This also means that JetBlue will be unable to redesign Spirit planes just yet, and many customers will probably be confused as to whether they are getting on board JetBlue Airlines. All in all, what Spirit Airlines might lack in elegance, it makes up for in affordability. It speaks to the government policy of cutting down on high costs, and a sale to JetBlue undermines that policy. Surprisingly, now that JetBlue has acquired Spirit Airlines, prices might not exactly be as crazy. We could see reform in their business model to accommodate lesser prices on fares. They will add more low fares to emulate the affordable approach to the business of carriers like Spirit. We're not sure if there would be extra perks to enjoy, such as seat assignments and other aesthetic perks that you would obtain in a standard coach fare. In retrospect, the timeline for this deal is not soon. The complete merger will be lengthy and expensive on JetBlue's part, and we could be looking at 3 to 4 years of remodeling, retrofitting, and re-strategizing before we can see any of Spirit's fleet take to the air under the JetBlue flag. Expectations are geared towards 2025 to 2026, by which nearly all Spirit Airlines interiors will have been outfitted, and JetBlue will become the toast of the aviation industry. The experience is there. We just have to wait for the work to start. Who knows? JetBlue may become the perfect low-fare challenger to the dominant U.S. carriers we have endured for the last few decades. What do you think of this merger? Do you think Spirit will be able to retain a little of its business model in the JetBlue framework? Is there a reason you think the merger will not work out? Kindly share with us in the comments below. If this was interesting, you don't want to miss out on this next one.